Brain-centered learning in football will be the topic of this interview. The mastermind behind this training method is Belgian coach Michel Bruyninckx, who will be joining me in the discussion where we will shed light on coach training and sensible, the training methods that are surging a revolution in modern football. A number of high-profile clubs like Milan, Real Madrid, and other realities like MLS and the Spire Academy in Qatar have all seeked success through this methodology. Coach Bruyninckx is here to talk to us through all this. First of all, welcome to the chat, Coach. And I want to immediately start about your early days regarding this training method, no? Because between 2001 and 2011, for a whole decade, in collaboration also with the University of Leuven, you developed this training method called coach training, and it's key to sensible. The main focus was brain functioning. So how did you come up with this idea?
Well, I think a lot of people know that Belgian football was actually non-existing around 2000. We were struggling to be qualified for the most important tournaments. So our government, together with the federation, decided to do something about it. And at first, it was not only football, but actually all the other sports were involved as well. We had several meetings, and regarding football, the federation decided to set up in every province an elite academy. Now, at a particular moment, I think in 99, 2000, there were already four academies in the Flemish part of Belgium, and 2000 they decided to launch the fifth one at the University of Leuven. At that moment, I was the director of the KV Mechelen Academy, and actually I was already reorganizing that club as well. So they picked it up, and I got the invitation together with the people from the university to organize the elite academy at the university. And that's the way the story starts, because the moment I arrived at the university, although I had already activities and I worked with one of the most important professors at the university, but the moment I arrived to all that, we decided to look to the problem in a different way. And it's quite logical in a scientific environment. They are continuously inspired by what's developing daily. And so I got a request when I started with the first group of young players, and that were selected players. There was always a selection protocol by the federation. I decided together with the university on a request of a professor to concentrate on motor learning, because when we made the analysis of Belgian football, we saw it was too much physically, and the technical level was too low. So I got into research regarding motor learning, and we already knew that rhythm was playing or was having an important influence on motor development. So I got the question because they knew what I was doing, and they knew I was already looking to football development in a different way. They asked me, how would you anticipate this problem? So I started some research on it, and it was quite logical that if you want to bring in rhythm and timing while you're trying to learn with a ball, a bouncing ball would make it very difficult to have many repetitions. So one day I saw a video of Ajax Amsterdam, and they had brought a tool out of the States. They used some time in the club, but it faded away very, very quickly. But for me, this was very interesting, because when I saw one of the performances, I thought, okay, but with a small net, we put a ball in a net and a string and a handle, we can actually be sure that the ball will stay close to the player. And then the most important thing is using the rhythm. Actually, today we refer to it using the brain timing, the metronome influence of the brain on technical drills. And so I started to do it. I developed a lot of drills, and I started to implement all that in the Elite Academy. And what did happen? We saw in a very short time that many players were progressing much more. And there is one exciting example in all that, because I will never forget when Faris Haroun today is playing for Antwerp. He was also in our national team. He is a young African boy. His father arrived in Belgium at a very young age, and he started to play football in a club being part of our capital, Brussels, but the club doesn't exist anymore. It was a professional club, but this boy passed the selection test, but the impression a lot of people had about him was very, very poor. And what happened? The father came to me and he said, Michel, can I ask you something? Faris can play with his right foot, but the left one, that's terrible. He cannot use the left foot in the game. And he asked me rather straight, can you change this? And I told him, let's try. I think I have a solution. And what did we do? So he started to be part of all the training sessions with what at that moment was called the soccer pal. But I changed it in soccer pal on music, because I also used music to have structured rhythm. So he trained with it several years, and then something special happened, because you could see that his progress, and I had to say he's a very intelligent boy with a correct mindset. So after two and a half years, he changed from the Brussels club to Racing Genk. And after 2.5 years, they asked the father, do you think he will sign a professional contract? Because it's unbelievable how he developed. And the father said, okay, I will first check what we can do, and I want to talk with Michel about it. So he came to me and he said, what do you think? Would it be interesting to do all that? Because he was also having a doubt, because he wanted him to go on at the university to study at the university. But I told the father, oh, let's do a simple test. Ask the technical staff of the first team to check his capacity, his talent. So he was invited by the coaches of the first team, and they made it possible to pass some tests. And about 4 or 5 weeks later, he got a letter. And when he received the letter, he gave me a call immediately. He said, Michel, now you will not believe what I'm going to read. I said, is there a problem? No, but this is something you will not believe. I said, what happened? I will read you the letter I got from the club. And you know what the opening sentence was? Dear sir, we have tested your son, and he is a skilled left-footed player. They all thought he was left-footed. 3 years earlier, he could not even use his left foot, because he confirmed it in an interview on television. He said, when I arrived at the academy, I could only step with my left foot on a bus, but playing football was impossible. So 3 years later, everybody thought he was left-footed. And this repeated itself yearly. So then other players came in, Dries Mertens, everybody knows him, Sven Kums. But what was so special about it, using that idea, so beginning to understand that the brain can have a tremendous influence on the development, it's quite logical that I wanted to know more about it. because it's not only going about technical development, because that is also automating what they are doing. And uh, a number of things happened at the same time. The young players that arrived in my academy, at first everybody thought, oh, that are the poorest players in Belgium. And then after a few years later, what happened? Yeah, Dries Mertens, everybody knows him because breaking the scoring record of Maradona was exciting. But a number of other players like Steven Defour, Sven Krums, they have won the Golden Boot in Belgium. And it was always the same story. When I defended those players when they were 15, 16 years old, many of the professional clubs said, oh, no, not skilled enough. Then some years after, so slowly they developed to the highest level in Belgium and abroad. And it were not only young players staying in Belgium. Omar El Kadouri, for instance, he was from Moroccan origin. He came to the academy, then he left Belgium for Italy, and it was the same story. Played for Napoli, played for Torino. I think today he is in Greece, and every time this story repeats itself, and that was the start of the whole story. And now, yes, we know, science confirms we have a metronome neuron in our brain, and that's something that actually confirmed what I was doing. But still, a lot of people look to what we call sense ball. Today I call it MBM ball because there is. It's quite logical. There is an evolution in science as well, and when a company decided to manufacture the ball, they first wanted to do this with one size, but from the start I told them, watch out. If you want to present this method in a correct way to the market, to the football clubs, you have to keep in mind that one size is not a good idea. It goes in against neurology. It has to be differential learning. And in the back, there's another problem. You need to have programs according the age of the players. But they were simply thinking of the business. They were only interested in the business, and that was something I didn't like. I'm partly a scientist. I'm a teacher. I want to be sure that what I present to coaches and to children that it's correct. But I tried to convince them, and they didn't want to change it. They said the only thing that matters for us is the sales of the sense ball. And that's the reason why I decided, oh no, then I don't want to be part of it anymore, because I want to guarantee when you implement what I explain, it can help a boy to improve better as a football player. But in the background, and that's what I'm doing in the school system as well, I use it to help children to develop their learning capacity. That is the start of the story.
So what has become MBM method today that's still it's related to the coach training and use of sense ball, no?
Yeah, it actually, let's say that sense ball and cozy training was the first part of what we call today MBM. But it's quite logical. If you check today what's happening in the school system, we all begin to understand that the executive functioning of children is very important. This means that for many years we thought, particular parts of the brain will determine who you are going to be. Today we know it is a network. It means it is a combination of networks. And what is enormously important, actually the frontal part, they call it the frontal cortex, That is the most important part, but this is maturing in a very slow way, because actually the part we need to take decisions, to have some insight, to structure, to find patterns in what we are doing, because the brain is a pattern machine, comes out of this part. But it's only full grown at the age of 25. But this part of the brain is having a tremendous influence on all the other activities in the brain. And this was not matching, because Koji training, when I started to explain to coaches, okay, first try to understand that whatever you are doing in your life is controlled by the brain. That was already a big step for many people, because they were only looking to the outside activity. They were not aware of the fact that it all happens at the inside. So step by step, what did I have to do? I have to make people understand that, okay, Koji training was a good inspiration, but together with the development of science, I had to make them understand that it is a lot more complicated than what we thought in the start. And so MBM, what's MBM doing? MBM actually tries to bring more scientific fields together. It's not only cognitive neurology, it's psychology, neuropsychology, kinesiology. So there are so many things that comes together, also neurobiology, because that's what I'm doing right now in the school system. We need to give one simple example, and that was not in the Koji concept present, but we need to understand that moving and learning goes together. So when you ask children to sit still, you actually complicate their learning development in a dramatic way. And now slowly, so I have projects in Belgium, and it's not so easy to convince people to change all that, but nobody can endure it anymore, because when I set it up in a school, and half a year later they check how children are developing, they do not have any arguments anymore. And that's MBM. MBM goes much further than what I first did in Koji training and Sensible. Also Sensible today is organized, what I'm going to do in China, in other countries, in Germany. Well, it's all developed in a much better way, to be sure that all the activities we can organize through the Sensible and through MBM will be in favor of children when they are learning. That is actually the difference.